In this episode, I talk about how I started Sport Compass and I give away a free book, Startup Funding by Nicolaj Højer Nielsen. Pretty cool, let's get started! Okay, so lately I noticed that a lot of people have issues with starting off. They don't know where to start from, they don't know where to look for that kind of knowledge, they don't know who to speak with, and they don't know how to get that kind of secret sauce that everyone wants. To answer all these questions, I started reading. Yes, something as annoying and boring and simple as that. Reading. I always hated it. Doesn't matter I was in high school, doesn't matter I was a little kid, I always hated it, I didn't like it. However, I started reading, and what did I read? Yes, The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. I was living under the impression that everyone has already read it, at least those in the startup world. However, not many of you have read it. So if you don't know where to start, how to start, what to look for, things like this, I recommend reading this book. What this book gave to me was the approach needed when you build something under the umbrella of uncertainty. So what I did was a full-time job out of understanding this book. I was trying to digest it, I was trying to chew it, I was trying to process it and understand it as much as possible. If you go through a process like this, you will end up going outside and talking to the end user, talking to the people that are actually going to use your product. Even if it's B2B or B2C, you'll have to talk with people. That's something that I can tell you already. So in my case, I knew that I want to build something for the community of sport fans. I didn't know much. I didn't know many things. So I'm really glad I found this. Imagine me going around all these crowded places in Copenhagen, and touristic places, going with this A3 paper in my hand, saying football fans equal free beer. It was definitely an experience, especially when there were other people looking at you and you didn't really know how to react. However, those interested were approaching me, or if I saw that they were interested in some way, I was approaching them. And if we ended up engaging in the conversation, then there's a QR code and that's a shortened link. So those interested were just answering 10 questions, which only took them less than 2 minutes, and they were getting a free beer. If they were into sports, if they were into football, if they were into beer, then they wuld engage in a conversation. I managed to get, I think, around 50 responses like this, and that was enough. That was enough just to get the sense of what you actually want to do. This is how I found out that not only about football, it's about so many sports. It's not only football out there. I was living under the impression that everyone is watching football, and I was in 95% of the cases I was sure. However, I started learning already some things about this. Then when I finished this book, I read another one, and the other book that I read, you guessed it, Startup Funding by Nicolaj Højer Nielsen. Now I will tell you why is it important. Well, this book is really cool. It's really cool for three reasons. The first one, Nicolaj is a cool guy. Let's put it like this. He is an ex-entrepreneur, now only investor, professor, book author, speaker, all this kind of stuff. He's actually teaching me. He's a professor at CBS. And in the first class, he said that he doesn't really have a normal job anymore. He just invests in startups. I think that's a pretty cool job. However, the second reason would be that the book is focusing mostly on the local market, on Europe. And for a European, reading this will give you a better understanding of actually what's going on. Because you might watch Shark Tank, or you might watch other things that might give you the wrong impression, or you might only read the headline news, and then you might get the wrong impression about what's actually going on. There are big differences between Europe and US. And now the third reason, and the way to the most important one is that it gives you a clear view of who do you actually need in terms of cash, sugar daddy, sugar mommy, whatever you want to call it. Do you actually need an investor? If yes, what kind of investor do you need? What kind of business are you building? Who are you actually supposed to look for? Because we have this impression that investors are these really cool, tough guys that have lots of cash to spend and are mostly into money and they run this planet and all this kind of stuff. However, that's not the best. That's probably not the case. Might be in some situations, I don't know. However, reading this book, which by the way is extremely nice and extremely easy to read, will give you, oh, that's my alarm, will give you a really clear view of who do you actually need in your organization, and if you actually need someone, or if your state, if your government has funds for you. So if you could take two things out of this video, the first one would be start reading, and the second one would be get out there and talk with the potential users of whatever product you want to build. In order to find out how to do that, I think it's really valuable to read the Lean Startup, as I mentioned before, and when you're done with that, I definitely recommend you reading Startup Funding by Nicolaj Højer Nielsen, for the reasons I mentioned before. And now the giveaway. Happily, I received this book from Nicolaj, and he told me to give it away to one of the startups at an event that I organized. Probably you have been there, Find Your Co-Founder. There were around 12 startup ideas, or 15, I don't remember for sure. Don't know for sure. That pitched their ideas, and Nicolaj said, just give it to someone that you think is worth it. I was like, okay, but I haven't planned this. Why didn't you tell me? Like, I could have done something cooler. However, now I thought about this, and I will just organize a giveaway. I will give you a signed copy of Nicolaj's book. I will make sure that he signs it. I will do it in 2 weeks on Friday. And the reason I'm hurrying right now is that tomorrow I will leave. I will go for a few days. I will be in Florence. So if you're around there, just reach out. And the reason I want to do it now is that you guys can actually start engaging, start participating in this competition. What I really want to do is something really cool. If you have a friend that you know that they're into startups, or they always have this idea about blah 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 blah, and they want to build whatever, and they talk about investors, and you know that, or you just know someone that should read this book, please tag them in the comments of this video and with the reason why should they actually read this book. Just tag a friend or whoever you know that should be that will benefit from reading it. I really want to make sure that this will get to someone that really will find it valuable. Or if you don't have any friends, or you can't think of anyone that would be interested in reading this, just write why would you want to read it, and yeah, that's it. After this, I will be back in a week, and after that I will just go on random.org. I will get everyone's info and do another video when we find out who the lucky winner is, and I will actually personally deliver it to you with Nicolaj's signature on it. So without any further ado, I wish you a happy Easter, guys and gals and dogs and cats and aliens and whoever is watching. Take care, stay cool, stay calm, and keep hustling. Always a pleasure. Bye. Okay, this was all.